Hey everybody, it's Simone here again for Soul Conversations with Bella. Bella is the Living Matrix and co-creator of the 64 Doors and Unlock Your Design with Ashley. Today, we are so excited because we're going to be talking to the archetype of Gene Key 2, which just so happens to be Bella's birthday. So we're pre-recording this one so she can have her whole day to celebrate. So happy pre-birthday, Bella.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get going. So we would like to communicate with the archetype of the soul of Gene Key 2. Will you communicate with us? Woo! It is interesting. It's like the energy of a point and all movement at the same time. Another way would to if we were filming it like for a movie, it would be like a bullet and then the trajectory of the bullet all at once. So space and no space. We are opening up and we are unlocking. It is time to renew, refresh, regrow, regenerate, to go into the core of ourselves and be one and union at the same time. And you may be asking yourself, how do we accomplish this? How do we see inside and see without? So it's almost like within, without, all at once. This is the nature of the divine feminine. For when you are the space, you are all. You are the space and you are at one with the movement in the space. You are the container and the trajectory. And this I'm wanting you to know, for where should you focus? On the stillness or on the movement? It's confusing in human form. And I want you to go inside into the stillness. I want you to find the container, the bowl, the seat of you. And she's just showing me this beautiful bowl that is like almost held in our butterfly of our skeleton. And it's almost like that bowl is an oil lamp and there's a flame right in the middle of the bowl that looks like it's floating. I want you to see within, to hold the space of you. So many of you have gone inside in this time of great quarantine that you face. And as many of you have been asked to be still, some of you are unable to be still. To be in the presence of yourself. Imagine if you were in meditation and across from you, your meditative partner is your own flame. And let us go there right now. Let us sit in the bowl of ourselves, in the container of ourselves, and imagine that our soul sits across from us. And let us look into the flame of our soul. And let us breathe with the flame of our soul. Yes, I'm asking you to feel the breath within you and to feel that breath in the flame of your soul. And as we breathe together with our souls right across from us, notice the fullness of the shared breath, of the union of body and soul. And you may be noticing that you feel the breath move between you in different chakras, in different places in your body. And bring your awareness to the place in your body where you most feel the presence of the shared breath. This channel feels it in her root chakra. Where do you feel yours? And how do you notice the movement of the energy within you as you breathe with your soul? And are you full? Or are you lonely? What is the depth of your breath with your soul? And as you breathe, allow the breath between you to invite the flame of your soul within you. And to anchor that flame, your flame, in the place your body invites it. And notice how your flame responds, engages. Your soul flame may expand into one big flame. It may become the fractal of flames within you. However you experience the flame within you, simply be present, enjoy, knowledge. And this is what I'm hoping to leave you with today, that the flame is always within you. It is simply a choice to breathe with it, to invite it in. And do you see how in a few simple moments we became the container and the movement? We are the in and the out. We are the earth and the spirit. And I invite you to enjoy this space forever. Bella, would you like to ask any questions?
Well, thank you, first of all, for this energy and this quality of peace and movement, I guess, at the same time. I was seeing, as we were spending time with the two, I was seeing the 25 and the 52, which is interesting numbers, right? Because they are opposite. The 52 is about stillness, and it's in the root center, and the 25 is in the G center, and it's about universal love. And I was seeing them, and they are kind of, because the 2 is it's also in the G center, but it kind of points down to the sacral, I guess. There's something with those two friends that had to do with the breath, I think, that was powerful. So I was wondering if we could maybe speak a little bit about that trinity, the 25 and the 2 and the 52.
Mm. She says, you invite my friends in. Mm. She says, we are waiting for you, all of you, to notice these connections, to notice these sacred unions within the self. And she was saying this channel, she was showing how that's exactly how I took, that's what happened with the flame. It went from, in my own vessel, that's what, where I felt the energy. And she says, I invite you all to join the 52 and the 25 and the 2, to join us together. And to know your own connections of love through this trinity. She says, because it's going to open up different things in different beings. She says, you're not all going to experience that trinity as powerful as someone that has, for instance, your geometry. So she says that when we open to a conversation within ourselves, between the 2, the 25, and the 52, she says magic can happen because it's a portal of grace in a sense. That when the direct connection, the contemplation, the direct contemplation of those begins, it becomes a portal to grace. That through that eye, you can, and she uses the triangle connecting them, and then that becomes an eye, and so it's like through that eye, you can see much about yourself. You can see what you need in love, what you require, and what you desire. And those are two very different things. You can see how you show up in terms of love. And she's almost talking about love as oneness. Mm-hmm. That it's in the oneness of self, you become the oneness of all. So it's one flame, but then it's the giant flame. And she says that some of you are not here to experience this portal of grace directly. Some of you will experience it vicariously through others. She said, you're all designed differently and your geometries come together. She says, I don't want to set anyone up to, in a sense, fail, because I don't want to set up anyone's expectations. But if you're called to this sacred geometry, she says, explore it in full, go through the portal of grace there, and know yourself from within. From within, well, the way it comes out, it's like, how we were breathing with her. It's like it comes into the body, right into that lower grounded part of self. And then when that portal of grace kind of sinks down into the body, there's a capacity to know the inside of you, but to understand that through that portal of grace, it's almost like breathing with other people. Like we could breathe together, other people in your life, you could breathe with them through that portal of grace, if you will. She says, in part, it's a complexity because in part, the portal of grace that I'm describing for you, or that we're discussing and contemplating, relates to other geometries in the body. It relates to other designs. And some of you have come just to experience this very portal of grace that we have defined. And other people, that's not what they're here for. So if this feels like your calling, then explore. And it's almost like, you know, in Harry Potter, when they go to Hogwarts, they go to the train station and they go to this wall that opens up a doorway, right? Well, people who don't go to Hogwarts don't need that door, and it doesn't open up for them. So it's just not going to open. So if you arrive, you know, if you intend to have that conversation and the door just doesn't open up for you, and she says, I'm not giving you this as an excuse or a way to opt out, but you'll know that you'll have the experience of it when you're ready. But it's a very powerful. Well, she's saying, let's go in. For those of you who feel called to have this experience, let's go in. And we go in, and it's like a Garden of Eden. That's what I see. It's like a walk through, and it's like the Garden of Eden, and in the sense that it's verdant, green, alive, completely balanced. Like there's no want. Everything is in complete balance there. And she picks some grapes, and she's kind of eating some grapes, and she's like, what do you want in the Garden of Eden? She's like asking us directly, what do you want?
I mean, I'm seeing freedom, and what the geometry looked like for me is that the portal of grace, we already did it, and you actually helped us, Simone, to find the name because it's the invitation. So you're saying that it's an invitation. You don't push anybody through there. And so I have 2 plus 25 plus 52, the Trinity. And then they create the portal of grace, which is 22. 2 times 2. And what that leads to, because the 22 is linked in the geometry to the 55, the portal of grace leads to freedom. And that's the only gene keys that has the city and the gift as the same word. And what I can see, both the 22 and the 55 are in the solar plexus center. And the big mutation that we speak about in human design and 2027 and all that is happening in the solar plexus center. So it is this mutation that leads to freedom. And why does it lead to freedom? And what is the mutation? What I got was that the mutation is that the emotional center has to mutate, because our feeling is going to be the only way of knowing truth. The way that we have known truth so far, especially if we put our emotions in a cupboard and in a closet, we wouldn't know truth anymore. And we would probably go around in the world with mouth guards and face guards and like not know what to believe. But when the solar plexus center mutates, that's how we are going to be able to feel the truth. And that's going to be, it's a sensing organ that is coming, that is being developed. And I guess that part of that is not easy, because you have to sit there while the distortions of the emotional center fall away, knowing that there is victimization, reaction, conflict, desire, and all these things. And we're going to have to sit like in the depth of the soul with these things. And that's the trust that we get from the second gene key, because she's not afraid to embrace it all and sit there in that flame, whether it's a flame of life or a flame of death. And for me, that is freedom, I guess.
Yeah, and as you were talking, I mean, it was just like the garden, the more of the Garden of Eden that I was able to access. So as you were talking, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was just like, wow, you know, if I could see this much when we started, it was just so immense. There is so much immense space that's accessible. And she asked me what I want. And I'm just saying, I want to have the experience. I want to be in the full experience of this place.
Yeah, I feel it like being, it's funny because the second gene key is very expansive, but I feel kind of this fearlessness of saying, okay, your emotional center, either it's your prison forever, or it becomes this eternal space for possibilities and experience. It's like, you choose, you go into the portal or not.
she's nodding her head. That she's like, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And she's laughing at me because she goes, I know you want to taste from everything, because there's like fruit hanging, and I want to run, I want to, enjoy it all, and experience it all. Feels like if I were a being who had come to any, I often felt like this when I would ride my horse out in the desert, and I would come across a mountain peak, and then there would be some valley, some vista or something right in front of me that was so immense. And I would always imagine, like, who were the first people who crossed that peak, and what did, how was that experience for them? That's kind of what it feels like to me. It's such an invitation, really.
I have a question that I think has to do with us, but I think it can be generalized. So I know, Simone, that both you and I, we have faced some challenges lately that could have seemed unfair, or we don't know where they came from. Maybe the second Gene Key could speak to us a bit about those challenges, and if it, if it has to do with what we choose in those experiences or something. Because one part of me would say, like, okay, just focus on the positive, but that's not the whole truth. So is there any insight that we could get from her?
Well, she's talking about corruptions. She says that, there are corruptions in the field that you come across. And she says, when you walk down a sidewalk and you come across a pothole, do you think, oh, I'm such a victim because I came across a pothole, it's all my fault or whatever? She says, no, it's a pothole. You engage, you either go through it or you go around it or you turn around, depending on who you are and what choice you make. And she says there are corruptions in the fields, and some of you are going to own the corruptions as your own. And some of you are going to recognize, oh, there's a breakdown here. And some of you will look within and you will say, oh, does this breakdown in my external world equate to breakdown in me? Mm-hmm. And some of you will break down. And others will just go, oh, and deal with the corruption with, however, she shows it to me like in a hurricane. She goes, if you live in a place and there's a hurricane, do you go, oh, the hurricane's here because I'm corrupt? Or do you just deal with the hurricane and all the lives, it's how you deal with the pothole, the hurricane, the corruption, whatever, there's no fault in the corruption. It's an experience. And the transformation that is possible when you engage with the corruption and it's like, if you deal with it, you acknowledge she's showing me like different ways of dealing it. One way was to put it inside of you and almost curl in around it and deal with it all by yourself. And it just feels so, it's like the pearl, right? The sand that gets in the pearl, and the pearl just, the oyster deals with it all by itself. And then, they become these big pearls which we appreciate. But, she says you can curl in on yourself with it, or you can acknowledge it and go, oh, this is interesting. How does this go with my own personal geometry? And like the person who's living in a hurricane zone, what do? How do they work through it? And how they work through it is the telling thing about their geometry. So it's how you are working through it. Do you avoid, deny, reject, hide inside yourself, take all the responsibility? that's where the real learning comes from. Do you go, oh, there's a pothole in the street, and that's not going to stop me from my journey. I'm going to keep going, even though there's this pothole. She says, I'm oversimplifying. She says, sometimes there really is. That, sometimes the greater work is not just how you engage with whatever corruption there is. Sometimes the greater work is to go within. Sometimes you've created the pothole. Maybe you came out of your house when maybe you walked outside your house, banged the sidewalk and made the pothole and went back to bed because you were sleepwalking, right? So when you created the pothole yourself, yes, you got to deal with the pothole. But other times it's, it's just a corruption that we engage with. And for each of us, it's how we engage with that geometry based on our own geometries and what we have going on, and facing the pothole. Not internalizing and not taking on a pothole that, isn't yours to insert in your body.
Right.
That's the way through. She said, I could talk to you for days about this.
I could have questions for days, but but I know that our time is running out for today. So is there any I feel that was a good last pothole comment, but is there anything else before we wrap up?
She just wants us to know how much she dearly loves us, and how present she is with us in oneness, and to come back and visit anytime. She says she could do a whole course.
Let's do a course from her. Like, she's the origin of everything, so why not? And what did you say in the beginning? It's the bullet and the trajectory. Okay, thank you.
Thank you too. All right, everybody, take care.